How's up, everyone? It's ya boy, Leather Jacket Girl! And today, we'll have a little discussion on the recent weapon refinery. Now first of all, I like to make up for lost time and talk about the refines for Athena versus Mia. I should do this now, because if I don't, I'll probably end up putting that aside again. So as some of you know, for over a decade, the Mia had power crept the poor, giant eyeball Athena with a stat increase on every single aspect. This is something that not even Dragon Flowers may fix because they're both eligible for a plus 10 stat increase. Now, for a little while there, Athena managed to get the leg up because she got her refines first. However, not long after, the evil managed to get her own refine. Now, I promised builds as well, so I'll make some powerful builds of the two and compare them. I think that this would be the best way to make an analysis between the two units. Now, the first is this Athena build. This terrifying build allows Athena to fire an extremely painful eye beam that can melt even the sturdy defenses of a fully decked out over 50 defense Lucas with his pref weapon active by using Flashing Blade 4, Wrath, Brazen, Luna, and a plus 10 damage from her weapon. She deals an insane amount of true damage that'll destroy pretty much everything in the game. Worst of all, this evil being can even equip Brash Assault to perform the Athena Despacita instead to guarantee double on even speedier units or foes that can negate double. It doesn't even matter if she forgoes Brazen Attack and Speed because she doesn't need it. She does so much true damage that the only thing she can't really take out reliably is that said Lucas earlier. But, well, if she were to get a buff, she can probably still do it. This is the evil build I was talking about for Athena a little bit ago. Properly set up, Athena can vaporize anything in the game and leave nothing remaining. That's the power of true damage. On the other hand, you can perform a similar deed with Mia. But, well, instead she gets to do a dual shave with Flashing Blade and her weapon instead. And because her skills have no HP requirements, Mia can just unload her true power right off the bat without any prior setup. Arguably a better choice, but is it really? In my opinion, I think Athena might actually be slightly better. Personally, I think that the extra B slot is the most flexible thing in the world. For example, while the both of them can both use Brash Assault and Desperation, Athena can one-up her by adding Wrath into the mix. In this way, she can pre-charge at the start of each turn, provided that she's below 75% HP, which shouldn't be too hard if she gets hit. This will allow her to dish out extra damage from her withdrawal effects, and for even like 4 or 5 charge damaging techniques like Aether, all she needs to do is just sit around and just pull back and wait until it's fully charged up. Wrath is an amazing skill. Anyway, Athena could also just equip both No Follow-Up and Desperation at the same time. This is something that Mia cannot do. And of course, you know, if we want to be even worse, defensively she can also run Close Call. This will allow her to run Desperation much safer for continued combat. Now in exchange, Mia does have some good stuff as well, in that she can dish out a true potential right out of the gate, and that horrible 28 damage shave if she doubles someone. But, well, first you have to compare speed, and you know what? Doing tons of damage is, well, really not that much different from any other red swords. Comparing raw power and secret techniques, I personally prefer Athena because she has more wiggle room, because she gets that free B slot that she can use. Now, it also comes with an added bonus, that Athena is much easier, way more easier to plus 10. In conclusion, comparing the two, I think that Athena is a weapon refinery done right. This allows her to compete in even today's power creep, which sadly not every weapon can boast. That being said, let's carry on to our current weapon refineries. So we'll start things off with the other eye laser beaming creature in the form of Rebecca. Now, just as before, when I built her a few years ago, I think that Rebecca excels in dual phase techniques because of her higher bulk, especially since her weapon gives her 4 each stats. You want to make use of them. I mean, if you're going to compare with the likes of Legendary Alm, you should probably focus on your other aspect, no? So, used in this way, combining with Fury 4, or if you're rich enough, bonus doubler, Rebecca, unlike Legendary Alm, who might end up dying to a silly counterattack when he tries to score double, can actually take the hit, and then start blasting back with desperation techniques. And just like with Giant Eyeball Female, Rebecca can also run Brash Assault for semi-no follow-up, or simply to beat someone who's faster or even speed with her. Now, given time's pulse and her weapon's cooldown reduction, Rebecca can fire up some really nasty eye beams, such as the secret technique Dual Rupture on an enemy who can fire back. Or you may also equip Luna with Special Spiral to deal off some defense-piercing shots of your own. Now, the problem with this weapon, unfortunately, is that Rebecca is horribly outdated. So much so that, well, she is 20 BST. Yeah, 20 below that of Norn. A horrifying archer who is also 4 stars available. To Norn, she can practically perform the same thing with a slaying bow. Except, well, the bow has 2 less might. Well, I guess you could also refine it for 1 more might or 2 speed or something stupid like that. At the very slight extra attack and speed on Rebecca's part from the Refine would be matched by Norn. Although, I would have to say this. Rebecca's requirements are easy to acquire. You just need to get a buff. And it's still a requirement. Well, the problem with that as well is that visible buffs can easily become a liability. So, Rebecca is really iffy. I mean, I suppose Rebecca does have a leg up on Dagdar's kid, but let's be honest with ourselves here, that's really not much to be proud of. This, my friend, is the main problem I find with most of the weapons in the weapon refinery. A lot of these weapons just have lazily attached stats increases with like some requirements, and you know, as power creep continues, these will hardly matter in this grand scheme of things. And that's what we're looking at with Rebecca right now. Rebecca needed a secret technique, and unfortunately this weapon could not provide it. But, well, I suppose there is one other thing. Rebecca could get more dragon flowers than Norn, so she does have a slight edge over her after all. But we'll see how long that lasts, though. Okay, so next we'll talk about Cordelia. A personal favorite of mine, but the Refine for her, not very good. Now, it's strong, just like a Meaty's Refine when it comes to quanting enemies with high attack and speed. The problem with this is that, well, the weapon has poor synergy compared to a Meaty thanks to its HP requirement, which honestly makes no sense. I mean, a Meaty's got like Swift Sparrow, and this you get this like attack and 4 if you have over 70% HP. See, the only thing good about that kind of loadout is that you can tank better on the enemy phase or something like that due to having more speed. But since, well, I mean, it's a regular Brave weapon, you're most likely going to be player phase anyway. Not to mention, taking 1 hit, you're gonna dip below 70%. You also can't run this well with Gale Force for the same reason, because after taking a hit from a counterattack, you'll end up being weaker for the next target. It's just, I don't know, a little unfortunate. I mean, if you don't have a healer on hand, perhaps running this thing with a normal stat Refine might be a better idea. Plus 3 speed isn't too bad. The plus attack is not too bad. I'll be good with plus speed though now. Anyway, next up we have Leif. I was kind of iffy with the weapon at first, but thinking back on it, you can use it quite well With his S-Drink and Times Pulse or something stupid like that, his weapon can strike immediately with a 3-charge skill, with the 7 extra damage from his light brand's requirements. Now, the requirements for dev over res is reasonable, because a lot of units have 5 more defense over resistance, while the speed and defense increase that he gets as well does give him a good edge to get things done. So, generally thinking, you'd want to double healthy targets and one-shot ones that aren't, so this refine actually is not as bad as it looks, since doubling usually requires you to get punched in the face. I think though, using S-Drink is still kind of silly. I mean, you can just give him infantry pulse support or use something like special spiral no follow-up. That'll work. The classic desperation also works too. At any rate, in my opinion though, this isn't a terrible refine, it's also not that great either. I always feel that with red sword units. You need some kind of unique ability to make yourself stand out among the crowd. Like, say for example, and his double lion, Belith, and his Nope sword. Doing a bit more damage and having a bit more speed and defense might as well just be extra BST you'll find on newer units. Lastly now, true winner of this batch of weapon refinery is definitely Henry. In my most humble opinion, anything that buffs the use of Raven Tome is highly worth consideration, because Raven Tome is otherwise kinda iffy on its own because of its dependency of having colorless units. As a guy who likes to run the likes of 6 Paths of Pain Plus and terrible things like Kranya or Legendary something like this will frighten me. It'll give me nightmares. Now, combining a debuff with Guard, the evil Henry can then use other secret techniques on his B slot, like for example, Quick Repose, Lulls, and even something stupid like Mystic Boost to sustain himself while also freeing up his A slot for other techniques like Triangle Adapt, Close Counter, and more. A debuff of -6 to and -6 res, -6 attack and -6 res is also as good as having 18 BST. 6 attack due to minusing their res, and 6 dev and 6 res due to minusing their attack. Do not underestimate this debuff, it is very potent. Now this type of damage reduction from in-combat buffs and color is a lot harder to counter. We're all up in arms about, oh, damage reduction, close call, it's a new evil, when the likelihood of it getting a counter in the future is also possible. Whereas basic game mechanics, like colors, they're a lot harder to just remove. And I mean, there's also the added treat that newbie skills will always come out. I think that Henry's Refined is definitely a lot more future-proof as a result, and I highly recommend him if you're looking for a different type of mage that can control the battlefield. Well, and that concludes our weapon refinery discussion for the time being. In the near future, I might do a top 10 weapon refinery thing, but for now, I have a lot of work to do. Not to mention a Soul Calibur 6 tournament I kept promising and hadn't had time to set up. Once the situation in my life clears up a bit, I will do my best